I think it's safe to say the Nintendo Switch 2 is by far the most anticipated console we've ever seen. And with that comes a ton of high yet lofty expectations. But let's break those all down. Up next. What's going on, guys? It's Kalo, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and welcome to the Level Up. So today I wanted to switch things up. I'm sorry, you know I just had to do it. And I wanted to switch things up today and go off the rails a little bit in regards to gaming news content and just kind of talk with you guys. I wanted to talk about the Switch 2 today because there was that earnings call and we went through all that, and we did cover a ton of rumors as it pertains to this very console. We've seen countless blueprints, patents, game ideas, and whatever else have you. And I can't help but sit here and talk with you guys and tell you that I'm kinda scared for this console. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm down on Nintendo because, quite frankly, they've been the only gaming constant as of late, and that's outside the big three, including PlayStation and Xbox. Especially you, Xbox. But I can't help but see things like Alarmo and this recent venture into the world of music and realize, yeah, that's the problem. This is Nintendo. So I guess that new music app is right where I want to start things off. On the surface, it's fun to see that now we do have a central yet legit way to listen to some, keyword there being some, of your favorite Nintendo music. Now, this is all in part because a wide array of Nintendo games, new and old, aren't even up on the service yet. So that brings me to the first knock on the Switch 2. Or should I say my first fear, and that's starting off from scratch like Nintendo always seems to do. And this isn't a one-time occurrence that is strictly applied to this music app. Nintendo Switch Online is a prime example of such a thing. And it should be raking in money for Nintendo, yet it fails to have some of Nintendo's massive backlog readily available. So many hard-hitting games for Nintendo are missing from the service. And don't even get me started on Pokemon. But I don't want to hit the reset button here, so to speak, as it pertains to the Switch 2, and how easy it could be for Nintendo just to kind of start from scratch. Keep those quality of life improvements you made over the current Switch's life cycle, and carry that over to this modern console. Not to mention any and all Switch games now, along with the missing older games, and I'm talking about those GameCube ones, maybe even more for the N64, should be ready and available on the Switch 2 marketplace on day one. Next up is a topic that is kinda sticky when it comes to Nintendo, and this is all about day one games. Sure, there's gonna be a ton of games available through backwards compatibility, and those should honestly just be there day one as a baseline expectation. But when I look at the Switch 2 on day one, I think there should be games that are specifically crafted for the platform. Again, next-gen titles specifically for the Switch 2. I guess what I'm trying to say is, sure, everybody loves 1-2 Switch, and there's an audience for that kind of game, along with all those other party games. But I personally feel Nintendo lacks in major first-party games at launch. Sure, they have those big games like a new Mario or even a new Zelda at launch, but it's normally one or the other. So I guess I'm kind of begging the question, why not both? And I don't want to hear this argument releasing two of those games on day one will quote-unquote take away from each other. There are fan bases for those games that are ready and practically foaming at the mouth for their next big entry. And I am very certain Nintendo will have no problem selling both of those games on day one. Now let's move on to one of the smaller but less likely fears I got for the Switch 2. Or let's call it the Super Switch. Mainly because I do like that name a little better. These are some of the rapid fire things, and let's start off with the name itself. This really isn't the end of the world kind of fear. More or less, we've seen how confusing the Wii U got back whenever it released, and I don't want to experience that era all over. Another smaller thing, or things I should say, are accessories. The main question there is, will I be able to migrate my Pro controllers over to this new device? And speaking of this new device, what are these new controllers gonna be? Are they gonna be Joy-Con 2.0? Or are they gonna be different? I honestly don't know. We heard a bunch about this magnetic thing where they connect to the console through that method, and that's gonna be interesting to see because we did live through this Joy-Con era, and we did see things like Joy-Con drift come about. Mainly, how is Nintendo gonna work around that? Last, but certainly not least as far as this console goes, I kind of have a fear about its price. I've harped about any and all console makers out there in the world of price, and that's a huge driving factor in the gaming market. I've stated in the past I do think this console comes in around $400. Whether it's a tad above or a tad below, that's really up to you guys. I think Nintendo in the past was making their bread and butter by offering up the Switch experience at such a cheap price point. And later down the line, we got more high-end models with that LCD screen, so there's definitely gonna be a Switch 2 midway successor. But at the end of the day, when talking about Nintendo fans themselves, they really aren't asking for too much in the performance department, compared to that of the PS5 Pro or the Xbox Series X. I do think that if Nintendo for scale can deliver an experience that's much like the Series S as far as performance goes, that would be a home run hit. But with all that being said, I'm gonna pass this one off to you guys. What are your biggest fears when it comes to the Switch 2? But that about does it here. I've been K-Lo, I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content, drop a like on the video, and this has been the Level Up.